All right, good morning, everybody. I'm Sumter County Sheriff Pat Breeden, and I want to thank you for being here today. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we have an important update in one of our cold case homicides, one that has spanned more than 5 decades. Most of the people who live in our community know the case of the unidentified woman found under the Interstate 75 bridge in Lake Panasoffkee. Investigators were unable to identify her at the time, and she became known to our community as Little Miss Lake Panasoffkee. This case has been a mystery in Sumter County for almost 55 years. Today, Little Miss Lake Panasoffkee finally has a name. She has been identified as Maureen L. Minor Rowan, also known to her friends and family as Cookie. Although this is still an active investigation, we have identified a person of interest, her estranged husband, Charles Emery Rowan Sr., also known as Emery. And I just want to take a moment to say how proud I am of the men and women of the Sumter County Sheriff's Office who have demonstrated unwavering dedication to this investigation. This case stands as a powerful reminder of why we never give up. To Cookie's family, Cookie has never been forgotten. I hope this gets you closer to finding the closure you need and helps provide some answers that you never had. I'm now going to turn it over to our Criminal Investigations Captain, John Galvin. He is over our Criminal Investigations Division. He has been overseeing the investigation and will give you more details on how we came to identify Cookie. But on a little side note, you see the pictures and stuff up here. Actually, Captain Galvin's father was Captain Galvin back then when this case originated, and it's kind of neat that he gets to carry on this legacy and make this identification today. So this time I'm going to turn it over to Captain Galvin, and he's going to give you some more details. Thank you. Still on.
Thank you, Sheriff Breeden. It's a surreal feeling standing before you today. As Sheriff Breeden told you, my father worked on this case alongside past sheriffs Jamie Adams and Bill Farmer. I grew up with this case, and I'm grateful to be able to honor their legacies by helping to finally bring the name to perhaps our most well-known cold case victim, Little Miss Lake Panasoffkee. Cookie, as she was known to her friends and family, was born Maureen Minor, later marrying and taking the name of Maureen Rowan. She was born in Maine in March of 1949, and today she would have been 76 years old. She was a sister and the mother of 2 young children. She was estranged from her husband, Emery, who we will talk about in a minute. At or around the time of her murder, her last known address was in Tampa at 1206 Windermere Way. She would have been 21 years old at the time. On February 19th, 1971, Cookie's then unidentified body was discovered in the water underneath the northbound lane of the Panasoffkee Bridge on Interstate 75. She was found with a men's leather belt wrapped around her neck and a section of carpet covering her body. At autopsy, they were able to obtain fingerprints. However, the prints were not good quality, and this was due to the advanced state of decomposition. It was estimated at that time that her body had been submerged in the water for 30 days or more. Her murder remained unsolved, and in 1986, then Sheriff Jamie Adams had her remains exhumed for forensic analysis. Part of that analysis yielded the composite image you see here in the middle. On October 14th, 1992, the case was featured on the popular television show Unsolved Mysteries. That episode yielded a lot of calls, but none of those tips ever named Cookie. What we have recently learned is that someone that knew Cookie saw the segment and thought it could have been her, but no one ever called. Numerous reviews of the fingerprints were compared and submitted with the last submission going directly to the FBI in Quantico, Virginia in 2006. This submission at that time was approximately 35 years after her body was discovered. Over the years, the case would be reviewed by detectives and cold case teams. The fingerprints would be analyzed anytime a missing female came into question. In 2012, isotope testing was conducted on her remains, and that yielded the lead that she was potentially from Greece. Then in 2018, we began exploring genetic genealogy after it was used to identify the Golden State Killer in California. And since that time, we've partnered with numerous labs in the effort to build a genetic profile, but none of those lab tests were ever able to build a profile viable enough to pursue her genealogy. It's suspected that the embalming gel commonly used in the early 1970s contributed to a degradation of her DNA and inhibited the profile process. That same degradation of DNA potentially impacted the isotope testing that had suggested she was from Greece. Then in February of this year, we went operational with our first in-house biometric fingerprint system. This system is the IDEMIA Storm ABIS, which stands for Automated Biometric Identification System. And it enables state-of-the-art fingerprint searches of millions of records. And to complement our new system, we employ one of the best latent print examiners in the state of Florida. And when our inspector assigned to Little Miss Lake Panasoffkee approached her about a one-to-one comparison on another missing person for comparison, she decided to also run the old prints originally obtained from Little Miss Panasoffkee at autopsy. That query through Storm ultimately helped to identify Maureen Cookie Rowan as our murder victim. The Storm system had triggered a hit on a 1970 arrest from Hillsborough County, Florida, in which Cookie had been charged with passing a worthless check. What we now know is the fingerprint submission from that arrest had not been uploaded to FDLE's fingerprint database until 2013, some 43 years later. Just to emphasize how the Storm system sets itself apart, this past Monday, we assisted a neighboring agency with a fingerprint query through Storm after the requesting agency's own system did not reveal any potential suspects. Our Storm system was able to identify a suspect in that unrelated case. I tell you that to tell you this: without our Storm system, we likely would still not know the identity of Little Miss Lake Panasoffkee. So since October 1st, when our identification was made, our detectives have traveled throughout the state of Florida and state of Georgia, conducting interviews and fact-finding. We've learned that Cookie's marriage to Charles Emery Rowan was tumultuous, and that just prior to her death, they had separated. Emery's actions and behavior leading up to the separation and continuing after the discovery of Cookie's body are suspicious enough to list him as a person of interest, but not rising to the level that we want to identify him officially as a suspect. We've asked our media partners here today to help us in reaching out to anyone that knew Cookie or Emery. We know that they had ties to Gainesville, Jacksonville, and Tampa, Florida, as well as Enigma, Georgia. We ask that if you knew them at all, please call us on our tip line at 352-569-1915, or you can email us at sumtertips@sumtercountysheriff.org. And as always, if you prefer to remain anonymous and be eligible for a reward, you can call Crime Line at 1-800-423-TIPS. And at this time, I'd like to turn this over to State Attorney Bill Gladson, who has a few words for us.
Thank you, Captain Galvin. Good morning, everybody. What you just heard is the dedication and perseverance of the most professional law enforcement agency that we've got. 54 years, never giving up, You know, when I talk about the role law enforcement plays in our community, it's mostly about public safety. But another component of that is closure for families for victims. And what you saw here was perseverance and dedication and a commitment to solve a crime so that surviving family members could get closure in a case. And that is so important, and it speaks to the dedication of all the employees at the Sheriff's Office under the leadership of Sheriff Breeden. So it's an incredible opportunity to stand here with people that are so dedicated to keeping you safe and doing their job, keeping Florida safe. So, thank you. Sheriff? Have any?
Thank you. And as Mr. Glass said, we're dedicated to serving justice and finding closure for our victims. But at this time, Captain Galvin, I believe we're going to open it up to questions. So any questions you may have, we're going to try to answer those and add some clarity to some of the stuff that we talked about today. So,
where do things, obviously you're reaching out to us to get the word out about this, but kind of operationally, what are the next steps? Where do things go from here? Where do you try and, what else do you feel you need to do to turn this person of interest into a suspect and keep going?
Well, obviously, this case is going on nearly 55 years. So it is important for us to identify anyone that may have known Cookie or Emery. And our hopes is to build a better timeline surrounding that very short period of time, that a window that we're looking at of probably 4 months, 5 months, to close in some gaps, get a better understanding of who they were. And obviously, if Emery Rowan had any involvement in this, we would like to talk to anybody that he may have talked to and potentially confided in or had anything to say about this. Unfortunately for us, Emery passed away in 2015, and we don't get the opportunity to question him and talk to him. So we have to rely on others to do that for us.
Is there any explanation for why she was never reported missing, either by immediate family or extended family or even friends?
That is something that we're looking into still, and some of that does involve Emery Rowan.
I know in the packet it has that you guys talked to her family, I assume her children. I mean, do they have anything to say about their father and whether he could have been responsible?
We're still talking with them, and they're as anxious for information as we are, because what they knew is their mom left and never came back.
Would that be the explanation that she just abandoned them?
Or could have been tied up with potentially other people up north that kept her from coming back to Florida. There's various stories that we're looking into, and we hope to, again, close that gap and get some answers on some of those things.
Considering that Mr. Rowan has been dead for about 7 years now, longer, what at this point would you say would make this kind of like close the case? There isn't anybody to put in jail or anything like that, if he's not, you say.
Right. Obviously, we are fighting an uphill battle at this point, almost 55 years later. So depending on what we find out, that obviously will be conversations that we have to have with the Office of the State Attorney and the prosecutors that would have prosecuted it even if he was still alive.
and a lot of this, we hope provides some closure for the family. And that's one of the goals here is closure and answers.
Can you go into a bit more detail about how the storm system kind of provided the breakthrough for you to be able to get past the deterioration of fingerprints and identifier?
I can give you limited information that the storm system is highly advanced, and obviously, from the information I gave you about the neighboring agency running the fingerprint through their in-house system and not getting a result, and then we ran it through Storm and we got a result, there's obviously a difference in technology there. We've always hoped that technology would help bring us closer to an identification of Little Miss Lake Panasoffkee. I didn't expect that it was going to be fingerprints. I thought it would be more DNA and genealogical data. But as it turns out, we went back to our basics and we were able to do it through Storm.
Can you, did Emery live in Tampa as well, or did he live
Yes, they lived together in Tampa on Windermere Way.
And, I mean, anything you say about him, I mean, what was his career, what did he do in Tampa?
That's why we want to talk to people and get a better understanding of who he was and the things he did.
Do you know if he lived in Tampa till his deceased when he died?
I believe he passed away in Enigma, Georgia.
And talk about, this is 55 years ago, Sumter County looked a lot different back then.
Certainly.
Just talk about, I mean, when something like this happened back then, it probably raised a lot of ear, a lot of just kind of awe and gasp because it's quiet out here.
Sure. And obviously it happened along Interstate 75, which is a busy road. Even back then, you had quite a bit of traffic, but mostly rural area at that time. And it scared a lot of people. And growing up here, the sheriff and I both grew up here. And this was one of those cases that everybody in the community knew about. We were raised around it. You heard about it. You saw it on TV, on Unsolved Mysteries episode. This impacted our community greatly.
It was a big deal in Sumter County. Like Captain Galvin said, we both grew up here, and we both spent our entire careers at the Sumter County Sheriff's Office. This was a case that you heard of all the time in Sumter County, and it just gained traction. And it was the locals here, pretty much anybody that's lived here their entire life knows of Little Miss Lake Panasoffkee. So this today is going to be, wow, a lot of closure for people that have always followed this case.
Are there any other law enforcement agencies, especially in Florida, that use the storm system?
I'm aware of Volusia County. I'm not aware of any others other than Volusia County and our agency.
Anything else? All right, well, thank y'all for coming today. We will give y'all updates, obviously, as we get them, so we can provide more information. But like I say, it's early in the investigation, so thank you.